Hello, and welcome to Security Leaders, the podcast where we speak to security managers, chief security officers, and professionals from across the security spectrum. My name is Neil Sutton, editor of Canadian Security. My guest for this episode is Brian Claman, president and managing director of Brian Claman and Associates, a security consulting firm based in Toronto. Brian also volunteers as social media, marketing, and corporate sponsorship coordinator for the Canada 911 Ride Foundation. The foundation hosts annual police-escorted motorcycle rides to raise funds for the families of fallen emergency service personnel. They also collaborate with the Mikey Network to make public defibrillators more readily available to help save lives. I recently spoke to Brian about the foundation, which is hosting 2 rides this summer, one in Atlantic Canada in June, and the next one coming up on August 27th and 28th in Ontario. You can find more details about the Canada 911 Ride Foundation and how you can get involved on their website, canada911ride.org. Before my conversation with Brian, here's a quick word from our sponsor, Commissionaires.
There can be an over-reliance on technology as a silver bullet to resolve all the ills. Technology is about a tool. It really comes down to the operators and having those individuals understand the role that they play, not only for client safety and security, but the security and safety of the community as a whole. I'm Don Thompson, Director of Operations for Commissionaires Hamilton. If you'd like to learn more about Commissionaires, please visit commissionaires.ca.
So welcome to the podcast, Brian. We're very grateful you could join us today. So tell us more about what the 911 Ride is set out to accomplish. What are you doing as a foundation, and who is this going to support?
Well, I'll start with our mission statement. And really, the foundation's mission is to host an annual police-escorted motorcycle ride to raise funds and awareness for the foundation's causes, which include helping the families of fallen emergency service workers. And when I say that, talk about police, fire, and EMS workers. Also helping the children who have been victim of violent crime, and also working in conjunction with the Mikey Network to make public access defibrillators available across the country, so that people don't have to die needlessly when they have a heart attack and there isn't a defibrillator close by. And we're really excited by that relationship. To date, with our association with the Mikey Foundation, we have helped save 48 lives, 48 people that we believe may not have survived had they not had access to immediate care, are alive because of the work of the Mikey Foundation and also the Canada 911 Ride Foundation. So it's really 3 areas that we focus on: emergency service folks, children that have been victimized in violent crimes, such as the Danforth shooting is one of the children that was killed during that. We supported her family, and I could talk about that a little bit later, and also through the Mikey Network. So that's really our mission. What makes the ride different is that there's a ton of rides out there, and most of them are there for supporting really worthy causes. So I wish them the best. There's a lot of need out there, but what makes our ride different is it's imagine, if you will, you're riding with about 100 and 140 motorcyclists. You're riding down the back roads of Ontario. You're riding on highways, the 401, 407, the 400, and you're fully police escorted. And for 2 days of riding, you don't stop at a red light and you don't stop at a stop sign. It's like you're the president of the US. You have, or with the ride, typically we'll have about 40 motor officers with us from Toronto Police, OPP, York, Peel Regional Police are joining us this year. And they're basically doing the escort, and they're closing down intersections, and they're closing down roads and highways, and you're just going through nonstop. So it's literally, it could take a couple of minutes for the ride to go through. It could be as long as 1.5 kilometers in length, and it's really impressive as we're driving through different cities and towns in Ontario or highways, and to watch the police operate like these guys. We are so fortunate in Canada, or at least in Ontario, to have such a professional, great cadre of police motorcycle officers, VIP officers. To watch them work is amazing. How they leapfrog through traffic, how they're able to close intersections, keep everyone safe. But if you were to ever see the ride, and I would encourage people to go to our website, and there's some video that you can see of the ride. Literally, you've got a procession of police vehicles, motorcycles, hundreds of motorcycles, 40 or so police motorcycles. You've got service vehicles, you've got EMS that are following to make sure that no one gets hurt, or if there's an issue, they can deal with it right away. You've got mechanical breakdown vehicles that are following. So it's quite the vision to watch the ride go through your town or neighborhood.
So there's two rides coming up this summer, right? There's one in Charlottetown and one in Toronto. Can you tell us a bit about how folks can get involved and maybe a few more details about those individual rides?
Yeah, well, the Canada 911 Ride Foundation is our goal is to be national in scope. At this point, we are really in Ontario and Atlantic Canada. So we have two rides. There's the Atlantic Ride and the Ontario Ride. The Atlantic Ride takes place in early June each year, and it's a different venue each year in Atlantic Canada. This year it's in Charlottetown, and it's a beautiful. They did Charlottetown once before, and the areas they drive through are just beautiful. The hospitality of the people along the route are just amazing. So that takes place in, like I said, June. The Ontario ride usually takes place the last weekend of August, which is the 26th and 27th of August this year. It's based out of the Nottawasaga Inn Resort in Alliston. And basically, the ride starts Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, ends Sunday at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And really, the itinerary breaks down to this. A lot of the riders will get in on Friday evening before, check into the hotel. There's a special rate at the hotel if someone's interested in participating. They're going to get together. Most of the riders come year after year, so rekindle friendships, mingle with the volunteers, with the police officers, with the other riders, get a good night's sleep. Saturday morning, there's a nice big breakfast first thing in the morning. There's a briefing at 7:30 outside the hotel in the parking lot. They stage all the motorcycles and they hit the road 8 o'clock in the morning. The ride is unique in the sense that it's, as I said, it's multi-day. They'll ride until 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, 3:30. We'll stop for one gas fill-up, which is included in your registration. And the idea of watching 130, 140 motorcycles fueled up in 20 minutes, it's like watching a pit crew at the Indy. It's just amazing. Just watching how the volunteers put that together. Do that. We stop for lunch, usually along the route. There's usually a fire department somewhere along the route that hosts us, and they'll have a barbecue or sandwiches and Coke and pop and dessert. And at the lunch stop, there'll be a presentation, usually to that fire department, of a Mikey defibrillator or some equipment they may need. Also, there might be a donation or acknowledgement to someone that the ride wants to acknowledge that year. Then we continue. We leave after about an hour and 10 minutes, ride until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, return to the Nottawasaga Inn, check in, park our bikes. And again, the bikes are pre-staged so we can get out early the next morning. Go into the hotel, people shower, they have a nap, they make some phone calls. The cocktails start at 6 o'clock in the ballroom of the hotel, and the food is outstanding over there, which is included. The banquet's included in registration. And then there's a banquet, incredible food, roast beef, sometimes seafood. It's a big buffet, but it's really 5 stars. It's really, really good. Great dessert. There's, as I said, there could be 140, 150 people in there. There's a head table. There's usually a silent auction and things you can buy. So people are checking out the tables and the things that they can buy. We've got this year, the Ritz-Carlton, for example, has given us a free night's accommodation. So we have a lot of trinkets like that and things that people can do to support the ride. Then, so you have your meal, and then the real business starts. That's when the program starts. We have an MC. This year, we'll be honoring the 5 Ontario police officers that have been killed since September 12th in the line of duty. They include Toronto Police Constable Andrew Hogg. He was killed on a training exercise in Mississauga. He was shot on September 12th, 2022. And that started a cavalcade of police attacks across Canada. Travis Gillespie, who was a York Regional Police officer that was killed by a drunk driver 2 days later, September 14th. Morgan Russell and Devin Northrup, 2 South Simcoe officers that were killed October 11th, 2022. And Gregory Pershazza, and I'm sorry to the family if I'm pronouncing his last name improperly. He's the OPP officer that was killed between Christmas and New Year's. So those are the 5 officers that we're going to be honoring this year. The families are there. We make presentations. In the case of Andrew Hong, and I will say something about Andrew. Andrew was special to the ride. Andrew was one of our escort officers for the last 4 to 5 years, if not longer. And he was intimately known to most of the people that participate in the ride. He was a friend of the ride, and he's a bigger than life personality. He was a big man, a very, very friendly man. So that one hurt us a lot. He has 2 children, 2 lovely teenage children, a daughter going to university this year, son going the year next. We were able to raise $120,000 for his children as an educational endowment. We understand the daughter is looking at going to medical school overseas in England, and the son, who is probably going to do something similar. Very, very smart family, very nice kids. So we raised $120,000. We gave that to the Hong family, to Mrs. Hong. So we're going to honor Andrew. We're going to honor the other officers. The board is still deciding what we're going to do in terms of scholarships. Are we going to donate a defibrillator in their name? But we're going to formally honor them at the banquet, and the family will be there. That is the hardest part of the evening. There's not a dry eye in the hall. And then we're usually finished 10:30. Everyone either gets a couple of drinks in the bar, goes to bed, and we start the procession over again on Sunday, leave 9 o'clock. We get to sleep in a little bit, and we stop about 12 or 12:30 for lunch. This year, we're being hosted by the York Regional Police Association at the Shed, which is their new association building. They have an incredible food restaurant type setup there. So we're going to be having lunch over there, some final awards, and then that's it for the ride for 2023. If I may, Neil, I know I'm talking a lot here, but I just want to say this year is a little bit special. It's a 2-day ride, but in honor of Constable Andrew Hong, who, as I said, was a part of our family, the 911 ride family, we're doing a special ride on Friday, the 25th. And if you register for the 26th and 27th for the 2-day ride, it's included if you want to join us Friday. We're starting from Lakeview, and it's going to be a special ride escorted by Toronto Police and OPP. Going to spend the day of riding up towards in North Country, come on down, end up in Innisfil about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we're calling that, it's going to be an annual ride called Honger's Rolling Thunder. Andrew Hong's nickname with Toronto Police is Honger. So it's Honger's Rolling Thunder, and this is going to be an annual ride, or it's our hope, an annual ride in honor of Andrew and his contribution to the ride and the citizens of Toronto. And I've talked about Ontario. We do the same thing in Atlantic Canada for officers that are hurt or injured or killed on duty. We are fortunate in Ontario. We haven't had to honor EMS personnel or even fire personnel, to my knowledge, in the last 17 years. The same is not the same in Atlantic Canada. And there's been several EMS folks and fire folks that have been honored by the ride out in Atlantic Canada.
As you point out, there's been some tragic deaths in the first responder community in the last in recent months and years. How can people get involved if they want to get on their motorcycle and join the ride, or if they want to participate as a sponsor? What is the best way for people to get involved?
Well, we would love people to get involved any way they feel they can get involved. And there's several ways you can do it. The most obvious way, I guess, is to ride with us this August 27th, 28th. And if you do ride with us, you will say at the end of the ride, it is a ride of a lifetime. It is an experience like no other. So you can go to our website, which is canada911ride.org. Go to the section that says Ontario Ride, and you can register there for the ride. And for your registration, it includes up to 3 days of riding, escorted riding, fuel fill-ups, your breakfast, lunch on Saturday, banquet on Sunday, lunch on Sunday. So that's all included in the ride. So that's one way to do it. Another way you can do it, same website, canada911ride.org. You can make a donation on our online donation portal, and any donation, large or small, is appreciated. You know, we when we raised money for Constable Hong, we set up a GoFundMe, and we got donations, and some donations in the thousands and thousands of dollars from businesses and police associations. And then we got donations of like $5 and $2 and $10. And those things really struck me. They touched me that these were probably just normal, common people, you know, not with a lot of money, but they wanted to say that, you know what, we're sorry what happened. We want to support the family. So any donation, large or small, really helps. I mean, you're going to see if you go to the portal, there's some in the thousands, there's some in the hundreds, there's some that are $5 or $10. That's another way. And we actively are looking for corporate sponsors, and we have different levels of sponsorship that we offer our corporate sponsors. We have a diamond level, which is $10,000 and up, gold, which is 7 to 10,000, silver 4 to 7,000, bronze, which is 2 to 4,000, and patron, which is 1 to 2,000. Then anything under 1 gets classified what we call friends of the ride. So you can do that. And for our sponsors, at least at the corporate level, we'll promote them on our social media. We put them on our website, and depending on what the level, sponsorship level, they may get a free table. They can invite their guests, their clients, their employees. They may get free access to the ride, a free hotel room, just as our thank you for supporting the ride. But whether you're a corporate sponsor or you're just an individual that wants to give $10, it really makes a difference, and we really appreciate anything.
As we were talking about earlier, I think before we actually hit the record button, but the ride is now in its 17th year, I believe. So when did you first get involved, and how have you seen it change over the years that you've been engaged with it?
Well, I've been involved now, I think, for 8 years. I believe 8 years. I'm looking forward to my 10-year badge. I got my 5-year badge a little while ago. In the last several years, I mean, since I've been involved, we went through COVID, and there was a period of time where we did a modified ride. It was just a one-day ride for a couple of hours at the height of COVID. We didn't want to go against public health guidance and put people in hotels and banquets and things of that nature. So last year, again, was our first year after COVID. We sort of struggled back. This year is going to be bigger than ever. The biggest change over the 17 years, I would say, is that we've really focused on what it is we're trying to support. And again, as I mentioned to you, Neil, during the Afghanistan campaign with Canadian forces, Canadian military deployed over there, we were supporting different military and veterans groups for soldiers that were killed in action. Thankfully, Canada's not involved in that type of conflict anymore. So we're really focusing on the emergency first responder community. And again, we're just so saddened by the numbers across Canada. Like, is ridiculous. I mean, there's just been 5 in Ontario, but you've had several out in Western Canada. You had, Edmonton just lost 2 officers. The RCMP lost an officer shortly after. Andrew Hong's death in September of 2022 sort of kicked off a ridiculous amount of violence against police and first responders, EMS as well, and fire folks. And I don't know what's happening, but we're really trying to focus, stay in our lane and stay in that community.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Brian. We appreciate all that you're doing for the Ride Foundation. Seems like such a worthwhile cause. And we certainly encourage people to get involved, whether they just want to ride or they could donate or sponsor at some level. But yeah, we wish you every success this summer. And best of luck on the roads as you undertake these rides.
Thanks, Neil.
Thanks to my guest, Brian Claman, and our podcast sponsor, Commissionaires. You can find more security-themed podcasts on our website, CanadianSecurityMag.com. I'm Neil Sutton. Thanks for listening.